Hi. All right. I'm so excited to be hosting, though kind of sad, my last mental health awareness Cafecito for the month of May. But I'm so excited on my guest today because she's full of amazing information. Um, Dulce Orozco. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here with me and to be my last guest of May mental health, but I know you have a ton of information and a ton of valuable insights for us today. So thank you for joining me today. And to everybody listening and participating, thank you for joining, and thank you for joining throughout the month of May. It's been super interesting, and I've learned a lot from all the guests. So, Dulce, before we get into this amazing topic that you came up with, I got it, Latina, which I think resonates with so many of our members at United Latina and so many women in general and Latina women. Can you tell us a little bit about you, where you come from, how you got to be the Latina therapist?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Karina. And so my name is Dulce Orozco. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I live in Massachusetts, but I was born and raised in Venezuela. And the name of my practice is Latina Immigrant Therapist. So I work mainly with the Latina community. And I prioritize culture and mental health. So that is the purpose of my business.
I love it. So important too, right? It's so important to have the niche you have, because there is, before we get into the questions, I want to ask you this. There is a little bit of, has it gotten better, the sort of stigma around therapy and being a therapist in our community? Do you think that's improved a bit?
I see it improving with younger generations, and I think that's amazing. I do think that younger generations, they are more likely to look for therapy. They are more open, right? Talking about their own therapeutic experiences, not necessarily within other, generations or other people. At the same time, I think that because of everything happening, it's interesting because even though I feel, or what I see is that it's still stigmatized, we recognize that we need help. We recognize that we cannot do it alone. So it's interesting. I don't know, what have you seen, Karina, within your own experience?
I would 100% agree with you in the younger generations. And
Yeah.
my podcast, the Cafecito last week with Eugenia, she actually mentioned the differences in the generations
Yeah.
and how abuelita reacts to how mom reacts to how, the kids react when it comes to therapy and the importance of mental health and therapy. So I think it's great that the younger generations are more accepting of it and pushing the other generations to recognize its importance. And also I think a little bit vice versa, right? The fact that mom or abuelita or abuelo or papa or whoever is kind of accepting that maybe their kid has a point,
Yeah.
and not just saying, oh, that's not for you, but maybe stopping to say, okay, maybe it's not for me, or I'm not used to it, but my kid is saying they want it or they understand it, or my nephew or my niece, or, because as I always joke that as Latinas, we're everybody's tia. So, you have that. So I feel like there's that back and forth of much more acceptance than there has ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, I also come from a country where we have the highest rate per capita of therapists, but Argentina
I
is
know. I
Argentina is
know.
a
You're
whole different.
lucky in that sense.
Argentina is very unique in that way. It's
I
not.
know.
I wouldn't say it's the norm of Latin America or
No,
the U.S.
totally.
Hispanic market.
Yes. I
Um.
see it.
Okay, let's get into this. Thank you for answering that question, because I really wanted your perspective on that. But let's get into this. I got it, Latina. And when you work with Latina women, how often do you hear some version of "I'm fine, I got it"? And what do you think is usually underneath that response?
Yeah, I see it so often, Karina. I see it extremely often. And I think underneath, I would say mainly two things: control and fear, and I do think that they go hand in hand. Control, because there's this need to feel that we are in control, and at the same time, if we feel that we are in control, there's less fear, right?
Right.
There's the illusion that because we are in control, then there's less things to be afraid of. And there's an illusion ultimately, but that's what we believe.
I would agree with that, but I also think, do you think that there's something of our conditioning, the way we were raised, the way,
100%.
or our immigrant, like, I think it's part
100%.
of, I think we have a unique combination of the way we were raised, but also being an immigrant in the US.
100%. Because a huge part of this is there's this need to show others that we are okay. There's this need to show others that indeed, not only that we are okay, that we are capable, more than capable, to do it, right? To handle it, and to handle it even better than other people. So the conditioning is absolutely there, but it's being reinforced by everything that has happened. So, as you can imagine, there is that mindset, as you mentioned. There's a reinforcement. So, that's what I mean by the control and the fear. So, it's like this, like ticking bomb that it's there, just waiting for something in our mind, just like waiting for something to happen. So that's what I mean by the controlling piece, right? So I don't know if you feel identify, but what I see in my own life, even, right, is you know what, I'm gonna do it because it's gonna save me time and energy.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I see with many of the people I work with my friends. It's this difficulty outsourcing, because in our minds, we're going to save time and we're going to save energy if we do it ourselves, because then it's going to be well done.
Right.
And ultimately, we're going to make sure that it's going to be done right.
I think there's also a big expectation, right? I think
Absolutely.
we put the expectation on ourselves, but I think everyone around us just expects us to do it too, right? Like, I joke that being the eldest in a Latina home is a very unique role too, because it just falls into flat out expectation, Lucia, without asking. Oh, Karina's got it. She's got it. She's got it. So it's not even I got it. They're all around me going, she's got it. She'll figure it out. She'll do it. So there's a part of, I love that you talk about control, because that is so true. And that sense of, well, if I do it, it's just going to get done right, which I think is also very much a female trait in general. If I just do it, I'm going to figure it out. But I think in the Latino, there's also this expectation of, well, everyone expects me to do it, so I'm just going to do it. And I'm not going to push back because that's what's expected.
And I think it also goes back, when I was thinking about this, Karina, I went back to even my teachers, like I went back to elementary school, and I went back to teachers asking me to tutor classmates, right? Like I went back to not only when we are the ones, and I love that you touch upon this, because it's not only when we say, I can do it, but it's this conditioning, right? When adults, and I think this is done in a very naive way, right? Like, I don't think this is done intentionally, but it's like, when adults around us are like, I have the perfect person for you, like, can you help your cousin, can you help your, and it's like this deep conditioning, right, when we are the responsible ones. And I think it was in one nonprofit that I was working in, and the whole topic was, sometimes we are actually punishing, in this case, girls for being good.
Wow.
When and this is the same thing that we're talking about, right?
Yeah. And I think that relates to also there's sort of an emotional, how do I say this? There's like an emotional baggage that we as Latinas carry with all of this, right? Like we don't always recognize it, whether it's the roles in our family, whether it's being the emotional anchor, because that's again our DNA, it's always who we are, whether it's again being that workplace emotional anchor for people around us, or caretaking, which is a whole other massive topic, which maybe we'll
Yes.
have a whole other podcast on. But talk a little bit about that when we don't always recognize it, right?
Yeah. And I think that's what you just said. That's one of the key things, right? It's not recognizing it, or recognizing it when it's too late, because perhaps the emotional piece will always be there. But the question is, what do we do with it, right?
Right.
But going back to, what is it, right? Like, how does it look like? And it seems to me that a big part of it is our own expectations. Um, and I feel like many times it looks like our own standards, Karina,
Yes.
and how do they look like, even, right? And what I've seen is that those standards are unachievable,
Right.
um,
But
at
I
times.
think you're 100% right. The standards are unachievable, but I think we put them on us. Like I think
Yeah.
that's the emotional baggage we tend to carry. And so when someone listening to us just said 100% on the emotional baggage we carry, right? So it's like we don't have to be everyone's emotional support.
No.
We don't have to be their emotional
No.
anchor. We don't have to take on all the roles and the responsibilities, but there's an element of us that we say we always have to be the strong one, right? And so there's, as you just touched, but I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that, is when we always feel like we have to be the strong one, when we have those expectations placed on us and we put them on ourselves, then there's serious health consequences, right, Dulce?
Yeah, and part of that is, because I'm going to go back a little bit, right? And when you are the one, and you mentioned this, Karina, but just, when you are the reliable one, then
Yeah.
when you are the one that is liked by everyone, when you are the one that gets things done, when you are the nicest one, so you might not just be the strong one, but you might be the one that people turn to, right? So when you are the support person for everyone around you, and maybe you didn't have role models, or you didn't see people asking for help, growing up, and then the connection you have, or the association you have, was that being strong was good, and perhaps people complimented you for it all throughout your life. Oh,
Right.
like, Dulce is so strong. I don't know how you do it, So you grow up thinking that that was a good thing. Not only thinking that that was a good thing, but not seeing anyone around you asking for help. So perhaps you saw that asking for help was a sign of weakness. Um,
True.
so so the thing is, what happens is that your body is going to, it's not sustainable.
No.
It's simply not sustainable. Um, our bodies are not built for that, you know, fast pace. Especially now when there's so many things happening, right? We live in United
True.
States. There's many things happening around the world. So, um, and one of the things that we were talking about, recognizing the signs, Karina, our physical body is always sending out signs.
So true.
Um, Always, all the time. But the signs can be very, very subtle at the beginning, and many
Mm-hmm.
times we miss it. We miss those signs because we're so into whatever we're doing. Because for so many reasons, many times because we can be so disconnected from our bodies, right? Or because we say, I'm getting sick, I'm not sleeping right, for whatever reason, we make up excuses, we don't know what's happening. So then our bodies need to come up with bigger ways to send us those
Right.
signs. And what happens is that we are going to get, sicker,
Yeah.
whether it's physically or emotionally, because we cannot keep up with that level of being the strong one, right?
Right.
Um,
And I like to say your body whispers, it
yeah,
speaks, it screams, and then God forbid.
yeah, and that's
And
what I,
we don't stop to pay attention. And that leads me to my other question.
yeah.
Why in your opinion, I mean, I have a thoughts on this, of course, but why in your opinion do you think it's so complicated emotionally, mentally, physically for us as Latinas to set these boundaries, right?
Mm,
And sometimes, Dulce, we even recognize I need a boundary, or I need to ask for help, or I need to say I can't do this, but it's like this moment of like guilt or emotional, like I'm going to disappoint someone, or that's not what's expected, or that's just what I do, I got it, right? And it's so hard for us to set those boundaries tied into that whole emotional baggage that we're talking about.
yeah, yeah. So going back to not having role models, Karina, I think that many of us, maybe we didn't see people setting boundaries, practicing boundary setting, limit setting in our families. Taking it to, I was going to say taking it to the next level, but simply like putting it in other words. Um, Perhaps it's seen as disrespectful, unfortunately, right?
Yes.
Um, Sometimes it can even be, um, you know, um, romanticize the idea of we have to get along. Families are forever, when in reality, that's not the case for everyone. Within families, there's many things happening at times. Being with your family members can be self-destructive for many people. So for Latina families, because of the values that we have as Latinas, it's not easy, and it can even be very hard topics to talk about. right? That's part of why perhaps setting boundaries is so hard, and we don't know how to do it. This is one of the things where so Karina, my daughters are 10 and one it's going to be 8 next week. Part of their karate classes, they would practice how to say no. I don't like that.
Yeah.
No, stop that. And I was like, whenever they did it, I was like, oh my goodness, I would have loved to practice that when I was like 8, 9, and 10. And I always like thought to myself, yes, I know it's karate and it's a sport, but at the same time, and they have a female instructor, and she's a social worker. But I thought to myself, how cool is that, right? That they get to practice how to say no. And I wish I did. And I think that we should all practice how to say no when
Oh,
we're like, you know. Um,
I think that's a really powerful statement, Dulce, right there. We should all practice how to say no.
yeah,
I mean, that is I think that sums up everything, right? Like I got it, Latina, who cannot say no because
yeah,
you say yes to everything and you get involved with everyone. Um so I want to look a little bit at the positive side because there's all this,
I
you know,
know there are good
right.
things.
So what does a healthier version of strength look like for Latina? Like trying to move beyond the survival mode. And I love that example of learning how to say no. But how
Yeah,
about like I like to say self-care, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a guilt thing. Like if you have to take better care of yourself in order to better take care of others and be there for everybody, right? But we also have this thing, or I also love how you said be honest, right? And say no, or this isn't for me, or I'm going to set boundaries. And work within your family too, or your friends or colleagues or work, right?
yeah. One of the things I'm practicing right now personally, Karina, and I feel like because as Latinas, you know, within United Latinas, for example, one of the things that I see is the level of love that exists and support that exists and believing in each other, project. I see that so deeply, right? And when I think of um, how easy it is for us to believe in each other, and how easy it is for us to really see, and believe in the power and the value that we each have, right? As a person, as a Latina, as however you want to look at it. I feel that it's so powerful to think about it that way. What happens when it comes to ourselves?
Right.
Like, and I feel like that's when, what can we do? What can we do so we can play around with that power of community, and that the immense power that we have as Latinas when it comes to make things happen. And again,
Right.
we're here in United Latinas, and we know
Right.
how powerful things are. So, what can we do to really believe in yourself in the same way that you prioritize and you believe in your friends, and in the same way that you prioritize and you believe in how important everybody is in your life? Because I think that there's something there. And I'm saying it for myself because I'm a therapist. This is what I talk to so many people about. And I believe me, this is like, there's no doubt in my mind that this is so important. And when it comes to myself, Karina, I struggle to practice all of this. And then I ask, like, I'm like, no, 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 like, and it's not because I don't believe it, but it's because it comes to practice it on myself.
Well, I think it goes back to how we started this conversation. I think there's innate things in our DNA. There's innate things in how we were raised. There's
Yeah,
innate things in our environment.
yeah,
And so it makes it very difficult. And I always joke, the famous saying in English of like a shoemaker's children never have shoes,
no,
right? And so as whether I'm, a wellness integrative therapist, you're a therapist, and
yeah,
like
it doesn't
sometimes we
matter.
forget about ourselves because,
Yeah,
again, what is innate in the field we work in too is to take care of everybody else because
yeah,
that's what we do for a living, right? And so it's very hard for us to stop and say, wait, I'm important too,
yeah,
and what am I doing for me in this moment? And I would love every uh, Latina and woman listening to us today to take a moment and say, ask yourself, what are you doing for you?
yeah,
It's
totally.
a practice. This isn't something that's going to change radically overnight, and it's not going to change in 2 seconds. It's something that you have to practice. I practice it for myself. Dulce, you're practicing it, but it really is a practice of, but just, I would love people to walk away from listening to us to just even the simplicity of that question. What have you done for you today?
Yeah,
Whether it's, I took a bath, or I went for a walk, or I took 10 breaths, or whatever little thing it is, but every day, in order, I think, to deal with this emotional baggage, this sense of expectations, this pressure, this being there for everybody, the I got it, I think asking yourself that question. I also really think that the buddy system, what you were saying of support, is so valuable in our community, right? Like when I see that Ileana has done too much, I'll pull her back, you know, I'll
yeah,
have a conversation. I'm like, ¿estás bien? ¿Dormiste? ¿Cómo estás? And sometimes it's as simple as that, is that knowing who those people are, right? That you can call, or that you can text, or you could say, like, or they can check in on you, right? And say, Dulce, ¿estás bien hoy?
absolutely. And what I usually do, Karina, is I tell them, I'm like, listen, can I text you? And I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be a little annoying because this is what I'm seeing. And if you give me permission, I'm gonna do it, right? And I wanted to mention two things briefly. When
Yes.
you were talking about the health part, the thing that made me wanted to talk about this topic was realizing, in a matter of, I think it was about 3 weeks, I've learned about, I think it was 3 to 4 people, Karina, that ended up at the ER. Latinas, right? Latinas that ended up at the ER. And then, like, from the outside, things look okay. But then this happened. So, like, I asked to myself, what is the message here? Because, yes, we're working so hard, but then this is the price that we're paying. So, is it worth it, right? So it's like, no, like something, it's not working. So, and that goes back to limit setting, that goes back
Right.
to boundaries, right? Like, if the price we're paying, it's at the, and ending up at the ER, that's not worth it. And at the
No.
same time, when you were talking about, okay, it's little things, I wanted to mention that something that might happen is that those little things at times, they're going to stop working, and that's totally fine. That's when you have to come up with other things, and that's when you can ask for help too. That's the whole point. Like, at times you're not going to be able to do it by yourself, so asking for help, it's absolutely fine. But I wanted to mention that it's totally normal for things to stop working, so it's okay to come up with other things. And that's part of the process, because it is a process.
Of course, it's a practice, it's a process. And so Dulce, before we go, because we're going to run out of time,
Yes.
and as I told you before we started this, I could talk to you forever about this because I think it's so powerful. Name for me, so two parts to this. One is, what are some of the signs that people can pay attention to before they get to an ER? Can you name a few of those? And also maybe leave whoever's listening to us or the United Latinas community with some tips or some advice, which we've gone through, but maybe more, that you're actually doing for yourself too, Dulce, right now.
Okay, so what are some of the signs? And for this, I would say it's easy to like, these signs can be part of so many things, and that's the thing. So only you know yourself, you know your body. But sleep, if you're not sleeping well, and it might be, oh, I'm catching a cold, it's perimenopause, it's so many things, but pay attention to that, right? Like, if you're like super irritable, and again, it might be part of so many things, but if you're feeling very anxious, if you are isolating yourself, but and again, I know like these things are so big and vague, but you know yourself. So I don't know, Karina, if you have any other that you want to mention that comes to your mind.
No, those things are great. I think also some little things. If you ever sit at your desk and you feel like you're short of breath and you haven't gone anywhere, it's
Okay.
because you're holding your breath and you're holding
Absolutely.
tension
Yeah.
during those times. So I think what we're both saying, Dulce, and then we'll move on to the other part. So
Yes.
we won't go over too much, but I think what we're both saying is build awareness,
Yeah.
listen to yourself, listen
Yeah.
to your body, listen to your friends, listen to your family, listen to people that are saying, Dulce, you may, I see you, but you don't need to have it all. You don't
Yeah.
need to, you don't need to be the I got it Latina. You can take a step back. I think that's also really important. So we're talking about listening and building awareness so that you can see some of the signs.
Yeah. Don't wait. Don't wait until
Right.
things get like, don't wait until it's a crisis. Absolutely. What can you do? So try to make, and this takes intentionality. This is not going to happen magically, and I know it's not easy, but try to make little bubbles within your days, like little micro pauses. And it can be, take 2 deep breaths, right? Like, go outside for literally 2 minutes if you can. Before going to bed, think about 3 reasons why you're grateful. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? It really doesn't have to be complicated. Go outside and sit on the sun for like 3 minutes, especially in the summer. We're in New England, so take advantage of the summer. So it really doesn't have to be anything complicated.
I love that, Dulce. I really do. It's the simple little things. So listen to yourself, be aware,
Yes.
ask for help when you
Yeah.
need help. Don't feel guilty or bad. We understand that this is easier said than done, but it's a practice. And what we're encouraging you all is to develop this practice, to listen to yourselves and listen a little bit to the people around you. Also, your kids. I'm sure Dulce, your daughters will say, Mama, it's okay. Like, there's moments where people around us are telling us and we don't listen, and we should do that too. But Dulce, we're running out of time, which makes me really sad because we could go on talking forever. But I'm so grateful for you doing this with me today and taking the time out of your busy schedule. Quickly, Dulce, where can people find you, follow you, get in touch with you? How's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, LinkedIn and Instagram, Latina Immigrant Therapist.
Okay, amazing. And those of you listening, thank you so much for listening. And those of you that were making comments. I love all the comments. They were really smart and super interesting. So thank you again, everyone, for being here with us. And if you're not a part of United Latinas, please come join us. As Dulce said, we are an amazing group. There's a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of intentionality, a lot of moving us all forward together. We are stronger together. So thank you again, Dulce. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.